We are still trying to figure it out, but I can tell you this, it was nothing to do with a mechanic or anything like that. This is most probably debris from the track.
All right, so there you have it from Ian Harrison, that it was debris from the track, but I want to go a little bit deeper and give you my opinion. Truthfully, I just think it was a mishap on Sexton, because if we watch this in slow motion, we can see him come off here, and that front wheel is locked. But what does he have? He has a rotor cover. So I'm kind of like them saying that it was mud that was packed in there. That was another thing that I saw on Instagram. I truthfully think that it was just a mishap of coming in way too hot. You're on the brakes, and I'll break it down. And what I think happened with the front wheel is right there. Okay, the inertia on the motorcycle on landing, the impact. If I back this down a little bit, right here, boom. I think that is what bent the rotor. It did something to make that motorcycle not be able to continue. Yes, this is all hypothetical, somewhat speculation, but this is my train of thought, and this is what I'm running with. Down that rabbit hole, we can see how hard he jumps into this, and this is a G-out section. This section is going to push the suspension down, and it's going to force these guys. They could coast into it, but they're braking hard. They are hard on the rear brake and the front brake. And so just with how much speed Sexton has, I believe that he left with them engaged, and that motorcycle does not like to move when it is engaged with the front wheel locked up. It is like a weird flight path, and you end up just going crazy sideways, and boom. Luckily, he didn't break his leg or anything, but I don't think it was a mechanical. I don't really think that there was debris in there, because how could it there be with a rotor cover on there? I mean, yeah, it adds up that he just came in super hot. Boom. And the motorcycle just had the brakes on there, because he's over jumping down here where a lot of the other riders weren't jumping that far down. And if we look at some of the other riders, okay, this is Jet Lawrence. This is a G out. He is hard on the brakes. He's not coasting. He's braking because he's getting ready to scrub. Here's his brother, Hunter. Boom. G out section. Perfect scenario to come in way hot, especially if you're the guy that you're trying to catch people out in front of you, like the likes of Jet Lawrence. You want to go as fast as possible, because I hate to say it, just this individual has made some minor mistakes all year long. Like, here's just a little one, almost crashes just on the finish line. It's simple, but he's just one step ahead of his actions. He is so fast, so talented on a motorcycle. You just need to get him to slow down. If you could get Sexton to slow down, he would be a force to be reckoned with, that you wouldn't want to get in an altercation with him or just a championship battle, because he would have your number. However, the rest of the field, everybody knows that it's almost the James Stewart effect. He is his own worst enemy. And we'll get back to Sexton in a moment here, but we'll talk about the next big thing with Jet Lawrence. Jeremy Hand actually got the one up on him. What Cooper Webb tried to do to Sexton in Supercross, Jeremy Hand was able to do it to Jet Lawrence, where he just, and then you got Jet hitting the gate and it falls forward. That is just was a tough call. If you saw my live reaction show, I said that radios coming into the pits, you have a 10, 15 second stop would have been better than a full lap penalty, because truthfully, the gate, man, he just bumped it. He wasn't like he was trying to jump it. Looking at it, Jeremy Hand flinched, boom. And Jet completely hit it. Was Jeremy Hand trying to mess up the rider next to him, or was he trying to mess up Jet? Whatever, it worked beautifully. Too harsh of a penalty. However, I do like that AMA is holding their ground when it comes to the penalties, because it was kind of a rough weekend for Jet, but a good one for Sexton until what happened in that second moto here. He's pushing Jet around, and this is different from what I'm going to show you with Degan and Joe Shimoda. You don't want to get into a match, as I was saying, with Sexton because he's a big guy. He's built. This broke Jet. Jet decided to go, hey, I am not going to push the envelope. I've got a good points lead. This guy is not in the championship battle. Why do I need to mess with him? This is a guy with Sexton just holding his own. He's holding in his line. He's not going to give up the win without a fight. You don't have to be the fastest guy to win. You can do a little bit of blocking. I thought that was totally respectable. Here with Degan and Joe, this was a little bit different because this wasn't the altercation with Jet and Sexton where Sexton is defending and blocking. The reverse is Degan is going out of his way to somewhat block Joe because he caught and passed. These guys have a little bit of a rivalry too, and he comes over there and then he just stops. You know, small little brake check, not quite as bad as what we've seen in the 90s with Emick and McGrath, but still, it is sending a message, and this is how Degan breaks guys, and this is what I think is going to happen in the 450 class, is Degan, if he does any of these antics, he might be able to win, to just get in their heads, to where they're not going to fight him as much. Not saying that it's going to win the moto there, I'm going hypothetically, in the long term, if he can just start doing these small little things, it's almost like this off-track type head game where he's going to be able to beat these guys before they even let go of the clutch in motos to come. Because in the second moto, you didn't see Joe really try to fight Degan after this because you know that the rider is going to be close. And he's going to push you hard. He's going to race you hard. And is Joe ready for that? Yeah, he's a talented guy, but he needs to be way out front and have a clear track because this is the kind of racing that I don't necessarily think Joe is apt to defend against. And what I meant by Jet having somewhat of an off weekend, dude, he was riding so well. This little like hip corner jump, which was not supposed to be jumped. It was basically a roll and then another roll, is something that only Jetson is able to do. This stuff is spectacular. He goes wide, sets it up, rop, boom, and is able to land and not just fly off the track. Any normal human being that tries to go for that jump, they're going to not be able to land on the track. They're going to just completely go into the water truck lane. It might honestly be a faster line going in the water truck line for most of us because you get around all the bumps and the ruts. But this is even more spectacular to do it on a national day where there is all these crazy ruts. The way he just rides. Here's another small example where he's just keeping the front wheel light. He lands, bounces, lets the motorcycle somewhat rebound. And this is, again, why I'm saying that this suspension is so soft, because why would you have this small little burr? And he lifts it. He likes it being soft and bouncy. Bounces, lifts the front wheel up, gets over the next couple braking bumps, no issue, comes in the next corner, front wheel high, just keeps everything light. And so does his brother. Look at him braking, little bounce, gets all the way over the single. Turning a checkup jump into a step up is just out of this world. It's something where these brothers are just changing the game, right? Just little braking bumps, boom, jumps over it. Yeah, I do think that suspension, that Honda works really well, and I want to see Hunter win more races, more overalls. We'll see if he can do it, but he's fast enough to do it. He just kind of has to have other people make some simple mistakes. But this right here was honestly one of the most favorite lines by me, was just seeing him launch off of some braking bumps and turn it into a little step up. And two things, the comparison between Jet and Degan on the Degan jump. I don't know what to call it. I'm sure it's just some crazy booter. Here you can see Degan do it with his hand off at the finish line, but you can see what he does is he's got his feet down on his toes because he's pushing down to preload. Because if I back up here, you can see in order for him to get over this thing, he's having to go wide. For one, he's having to go way wide. And then if we watch him come up this thing, he's way leaned back on the motorcycle and he's pushing down with his heels. So therefore, to preload, he's got to move his feet to land. So this is just one of those things where just these guys, it's minute, but how he moves his foot from being on his toes to just being the flat part to make sure that he lands and he's not going to break his ankle or anything, because or at least that Achilles tendon is just something that they're doing on the fly. And even this is a massive Larocco's leap jump, okay? And Degan's able to do it with pumping his fist, and then he's able to go, oh, just subconsciously, I need to move my feet. He's floating right here, but he's still going to move his feet from the toes to the middle portion. I just thought that was pretty cool. But if I back up to Jet's line, because Jet is on a 450, he's able to do it a little bit from mid corner. And something more important is, we talk a lot about this. This is that attack position. And do you notice that a normal human being would be sitting down with the leg out because they don't want to tear their ACL. They don't want to roll their knee. They want that foot peg to be bent. His foot is gone in these ruts. But they are changing the game because they are riding so much with their toes pointed inwards that it is cutting through the dirt. You see Tomac do this a lot too, where they're less and less likely to stick that leg out. They're going to keep their feet on the pegs, even with these massive ruts, because their toes are pointed out. It's pushing the dirt around it. It's making the rut bigger so that the next lap, their feet can fit through there. They're literally moving the dirt. And because their feet aren't out, we talked a little bit about it on my podcast with Rhino, where if you have your feet out like this, you're going to tear that leg off, rotate it, tear the ACL, meniscus, MCL, whatever. But these guys are changing the game by having their feet on the pegs and pointing inwards because they're able to just slice through the dirt. Yes, I'm kind of digressing and being repetitive, but it's something to note. And how his just body positioning, he's almost at 180 degrees flat. And you can see he's pointed in, he's pushing with his knees. Something you guys should pay attention to. But this is Johnny Hopper. Till next time, I want you guys to keep it WFO. And yeah, that is a sick jump. And part of the reason why a lot of the other guys weren't doing it is because they did shave it down a bit, but these guys still went and jumped it because a lot of the other riders didn't want to be forced to jump it, because I think more riders can, but still pretty dang cool that these guys still come out there. The two most notable guys that we know of in the sport, Jet and Degan, are the ones jumping it. Okay. Bra da 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 da.